What is up, everybody? Go Blue, and welcome back to the Wolverine Swag Show for an emergency episode. I did not plan on doing an episode today. I was going to wait till next week to talk about the Citrus Bowl, but we are calling an emergency episode to talk about the announcement that Kyle Whittingham is going to be announced as the 22nd Michigan football coach in the history of the program later this afternoon. It is about as official as you can get before it is official. It's been revealed that staffers are now hearing that Kyle Whittingham will be announced the head coach. It's been tweeted. It's been announced by some pretty credible sources on ESPN. So it is as official as you can get without it being official that Kyle Whittingham, the long-tenured Utah coach for 22 seasons, will be headed to Ann Arbor. I'm going to give you kind of the breakdown of the timeline, how this happened, and then we'll dive into my thoughts on Kyle Whittingham being announced as the next Michigan football head coach. So first off, it was announced early this AM that he was emerged as the focus in the search by Michigan. This was announced by Adam Scheffler and Pete Thamel. Keep in mind, this was the first candidate in this search that was publicly stated to be the focus of the search by credible sources like these. We saw something on On3 that Jeff Brom was coming to the search. We all heard the Kalen DeBoer stuff, but this was the first time in the search that we someone credible really announced, like, hey, Michigan is focusing on this guy, as was tweeted by Adam Schefter and Pete Thamel this morning about Kyle Whittingham. And then a couple hours later, first announced by Dan Wetzel and then later by Thamel, that Kyle and Michigan are working towards an agreement and a deal is expected to be finalized today. So that's everything we have so far. And then it was revealed a couple minutes later that staffers in Orlando with Michigan, obviously they're down there for the Citrus Bowl, are starting to be let known that Michigan is going to hire Kyle Whittingham as the next football head coach. So that's kind of the timeline. Now I'm going to get into what this means. First off, Kyle Whittingham is 177-88 in his career with a 668 win percentage at Utah. Again, he's been there for 22 seasons. Guys, this guy will be a Hall of Fame head coach when it's all said and done. This is one of the best guys to ever coach in the sport. He knows what he's doing. He's 66 years old, but he is a young 66, man. This guy, if you know what he does, he's a big-time mountain skier in Utah. For anybody that skied in Utah, it's not easy, and you've got to be in a really good physical health to do that. He rides motorcycles. I mean, he's very fit. If you look at a picture of him, the guy works out. He's in shape. He's very fit. He's mentally sharp. If you listen to him, this guy's a young 66. And keep in mind, everyone saying he's too old, arguably the best coach in college football right now, Kirk Cignetti, is 64. Jim Harbaugh, the coach that won us a national championship 2 years ago and now one of the best coaches in the NFL, is 62. So Kyle is not too old, and he is in the best shape of any of those guys. He's only 2 years older than arguably the best head coach in the land right now, and he is, again, in the best shape of any of them by far. He's fit. He's mentally in shape. He's physically in shape. This guy is not too old. I could see him coaching for 10 years easily. I could see mid-70s. If this thing works out at Michigan, he could coach into his mid-70s easily, in my opinion. This guy is nowhere near tired. I mean, this guy's not, Bill Belichick, where he's old and he's got a big belly hanging out, or, this guy's in shape. He's a young 66. He could go, this guy could be a very solid tenured coach at Michigan. Now, is he going to be a 20-year franchise guy? No. But he could easily coach for as long as Harbaugh did at Michigan. So age does not concern me one bit. Getting into the football stuff, the undisciplined BS will no longer slide. The offsides, the constant jumping off sides on third down we saw this year under Sherrone Moore, the missed tackling, this kind of the lack of urgency, the lack of effort, the lack of situational awareness. I go back to that USC game on that 3rd and 25 where they gashed a 60-yard run up the middle for Michigan. That stuff will never happen under Kyle Whittingham. You will be on the bench. And one of the things that was annoying, to say the least, under Sherrone is a guy would have a boneheaded mistake. Like, I remember Nebraska, Brandon Hellman, we had got off the field on third down and did some just dumb gesture to the Nebraska sideline, unsportsmanlike conduct, but he stays in the game. And I get Biff was coaching, but it's still Sharon's team. To Maryland, Cam Brandt with just a late roughing the passer, not necessary, stays in the game. Like, these guys were never held accountable under Sharon Moore. That stuff will not happen under Kyle Whittingham. This is a guy that's going to get Michigan back to fundamentally sound football. They will be physical. They will be disciplined. They will play with urgency. They will be high energy. This is going to be a very similar football team, a very similar football program to what we saw under Jim Harbaugh. This reminds me, and I've said this before, Kyle Whittingham at Michigan reminds me of Jim Harbaugh at Michigan without the Michigan ties. The play will be very similar. They will have a great defense. They will be physical. They will be disciplined. They will run the ball. And the passing attack won't be over the top. I think Bryce will be a lot like JJ on the terms of he's very good. He's very good fundamentally. He's very good soundly, but he's not, putting up crazy numbers. He's not winning the Heisman, but he's going to be very solid. This program is going back to what it was under Jimmy, in my opinion. The team and the style of play will be very similar to what it was under Harbaugh, except for the fact, obviously, Harbaugh played here. So, good signs already. Now, getting to the recruiting will maybe an issue. He's an older guy, but I think recruiting will always be respectable at Michigan because of the block end, because of the name. Guys will want to go here. I think Michigan will always have a respectable recruiting class even under Whittingham. I think one of the biggest things for Whittingham coming to this job is he needs to hire 2 good coordinators to help with the recruiting, and also a great offensive mind to help with the development of Bryce Underwood. I've already seen, as the time I'm recording this, Jason Beck, the Utah offensive coordinator who led the Utes to the number 6 offense in the country this year. He's already been rumored to be following Kyle Whittingham once it is announced to Michigan. That would be an A+ hire. To what I forget the Utah kid's name, but to what they've developed him into after not playing, because obviously Cam Rising was there for so long. What they've developed their quarterback into, it's been phenomenal. And Jason Beck, again, number 6 offense in the country at Utah. What he could do at Michigan with all the talent we have on that side of the ball with Bryce, that would be a very A+ hire. And then, what does he do on the defensive side of the ball? Does he retain Wink, who, again, I think Wink is getting too hated on. I think Wink being unsuccessful the last 2 years to his standards has been to do with Sharon Moore just being incompetent. There's been some crazy stuff for real. I don't know if you guys read the Free Press that Sharon really kind of undressed Wink in front of the entire team, just blatantly disrespected him. I've also heard something that they did not talk since the USC game that was played in the middle of October. I think Wink hate is slander. I think Wink, there's a very good chance Michigan retains him. He's a good defensive coordinator. I think Sharon just kind of got his hands messy on everything. So it'll be interesting to see what he does defensively. Again, Jason Beck sounds like the lead guy offensively, but defensively, does he retain Wink? Does he bring in a new guy? It'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what he does with the rest of the staff. Tony Alford, a must keep. You must keep Tony Alford. Do everything in your power. There's a couple other guys that I wouldn't mind seeing kept. Lamar Morgan, great recruiter. Obviously, Wink, I just explained. There's a case for some other guys, but it'll be interesting to see what he does with the staff. If Michigan gives him the resources for his staff, Michigan gives Kyle Whittingham resources, this will be an A+ hire. This is an amazing hire for Michigan if he gets the resources. This is exactly what Michigan needs right now. At the beginning of the search, I was on Team Kenny. I was always on Team DeBoer, but in the beginning of the search, I really wanted Dillingham. And as the search went on, even before it was announced that he never got announced the job, never got offered the job, blah, blah, blah. It is clear to me that this is not the time for projects. This is the time to go out and get a guy that has proven he wins, that has proven he knows how to run a program, that's tough, that's not going to let stuff slide, that's disciplined, that knows what he's doing. This is a perfect hire. This is a culture fit for Michigan. And again, this guy could be here for 10 years. This isn't he'll be here for 2. This guy could be here for 10 years. This is an A hire, man. This is an A hire. I was in favor maybe of what it looked like, Michigan was trying to do. I think it was kind of clear that Michigan wanted DeBoer. The fact that they took this long to even get a guy, because a guy like Whittingham you could have had all along, right? You could have had him all along. So I think it's kind of clear they wanted DeBoer, and they were deciding, the last week or so, whether to wait after the Rose Bowl, or they should just hire someone, and it's obviously clear they made the decision to just get Whittingham. So I was always on the train of kind of wait for DeBoer. This is an excellent hire, in my opinion. This is a great fit for Michigan. This is what Michigan needs right now, and Michigan football is back. We are going from Sharon Moore to a Hall of Fame head coach. To anyone complaining, to anyone saying, oh, I don't know, he's kind of washed, the next Pete Carroll, you're wrong. We are going from Sharon Moore to a Hall of Fame head coach. Michigan football is back. I'll leave it at that. Go Blue, guys. Amazing hire. We are back.